Hey there, welcome to the All Things podcast. Welcome to the All Things podcast, a radio program that is designed to educate, inform, and impact teenagers, their parents, and their teachers in every way. My name is Akintunde Idowu. Listen, I'm so glad that you're here, and always so glad that you're here. On this podcast, we'll talk about hot button topics that are important to you, hopefully, and they should be important to you. We also bring engaging guests with compelling stories which will challenge you, encourage you, inform you, and the people in your life in a tremendous way. This is a great show, and we're going to have a great time. In that case, let's get the party started. Hello, All Things Thing family. Welcome back to the All Things Thing podcast. And as usual, my name is Akintunde Idowu. I've really missed everyone. We are starting with another edition of the podcast today. This is another episode, and believe me, it's going to be fantastic. It's going to be amazing. And I have a guest, a friend who I met through another friend. His name is Mayokun Iyaomolere. I believe I pronounced that well, but let me quickly read his profile to you. Mayokun hails from Ilaje local government area of Ondo State, Nigeria. He bagged an MSc in environmental control and management from the prestigious Obafemi Awolowo University, Great Ife, where he's currently running a PhD in the same discipline. He is an ardent greener and sustainable development promoter. He founded Plogging Nigeria Club on June 2, 2018. Plogging is a combination of jogging plus picking litters for body fitness and environmental cleanliness. The club, as an organization with over 1,500 volunteers, is currently present in 20 higher institutions across Nigeria with 2 community clubs. Under his leadership, the club has organized more than 220 plug-in episodes covering 400 km plus space in various communities and campuses, collecting over 10,000 bags of litters and recovered over 100,000 PET bottles from the environment. The club also runs a Green Switch Academy and has directly trained and engaged via virtual bi-monthly workshops 701 young people on the subject of environmental sustainability, understanding climate change, and how to take action for the environment. Amongst other honors, Plogging Nigerian Club was recognized as one of the top 10 global recycling heroes by the Global Recycling Foundation in 2020. Mayokun is an unrepentant dendrophile who passionately and professionally leads actions for an environmental sustainability conscious world, with intentional actions driven towards its fulfillment by individuals and institutions. This has fueled his engagement and caused him to work directly with the United Nations Development Programme and Federal Ministry of Environment in Nigeria as a youth consultant. He has also worked closely with the Embassy of Sweden in Nigeria to organize cleanup events around Nigeria in 2020 and 2021. Mayokun is a Nigerian ambassador to Coalition Wild and International Students Environmental Coalition, ISEC, both headquartered in the USA. Locally, he still volunteers and works with Aqua Planet Nigeria Limited, Green and Reap Initiative, Africa Cleanup Initiative, 11-11-12 Foundation, and the Nigerian Youth SDGs Network. He also works with the Leadership Institute's Leaders Quarters, where he has since 2017 assisted in the training of over 2,500 persons from around the world towards inspiring effective leadership and making greatness common. Mayokun has won several local and international recognition, plus news features from the Commonwealth Youth Council, BBC, Now This News Agency, BuzzFeed News USA, the Nigerian Tribune, Nigerian Youth SDGs as an SDG star, among others. Chief Plugger, as he is fondly called, is simply an embodiment of everything green and sustainable. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to this podcast, Mayokun Iyaomolere. Thank you for coming, Mayokun. I'm so glad to have you here. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you very much, Mr. Akintunde. It's a pleasure to be here to join you for the All Things Teens podcast. That's almost like a tongue twister for me. I've been practicing All Things Teens. But it's nice to be on this call. Thank you for the wonderful job you've been doing to enlighten the youth, and I'm really proud and I feel privileged to be here.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you so much. It's a great honor on our part. All right, so let's get started. From your profile, I can see that you are a pioneer of Plogging Nigeria, and that speaks a lot about your passion for the environment. So I'll start by asking that, what actually led you to pioneer plugging? What was the drive?
Okay, thank you very much for that question. Funny enough, people expect that when I talk about plugging or the way plugging functions, that there's usually one very big story. Like he asked, what was the drive? People expect that there's usually one very touching story that made me start plugging or initiate plugging in Nigeria.
Yeah.
So how it happened exactly was in 2018. I had seen a post about plugging, and I saw that it's something that young people could do, considering that young people go out on weekends for exercises and all that. So in 2018, June 2018, precisely, World Cleanup and World Environment Day, was coming up. And I remember that, I saw plugging somewhere. We could actually organize one now to bring people together as to commemorate the World Environment Day for that year, which was actually themed Beat Plastic Pollution. So I sent word out, reached out to people and invited them to participate. And few persons turned up. I think 15, 16, 17 of us turned up. We had fun. We had a nice time, exercising and also cleaning the environment. So at my end, it was just planned to be a one-time thing. Then people after the exercise were sharing experiences, how we felt after doing the cleanup, plus the exercises, and students, the students and young persons that participated, that they really loved it, and they asked, they mentioned that we should do this again. So I was quite surprised myself because it was just meant to be
a one-time thing.
Yeah, a one-time thing. So, but people wanted to do it again, and I was very excited about it. And of course, why not? We did it again. But one thing we always did back then was, after every plugin activity that we had, would send word out.
Hello, can you hear me, Mr. Mayokun?
Yes, I'm sorry, please. Yes, I can hear you. I'm very sorry. So after the plugin activities, we would send word out. We post it. We used our social media platforms very well. Post pictures, explain why we were doing what we're doing, keeping the environment clean for the benefit of the planet, and also exercising up. So we always talked about it so much, and people from other parts of the country and other campuses, they showed interest also that would like to have something similar on our campus. And that was how the idea of expansion came in. We started on another campus, and right now we're over 3 years old. That's the organization, and we have the club in over 20 campuses. We have 2 community clubs too in Lagos. So that's just a brief story about starting up Plogging Nigeria. But the real thing is that what drove me to that point was actually that, yes, myself, I was an environmental back then. Yeah, I still am. I am very loud about the environment. So I look for all avenues to preach the green gospel of the environment, of taking care of the environment. So that was planned as just one activity in one from the many I used to do. It turned out to become something more structured, more organized, more permanent. And so the drive was to engage youth, to make people learn, to make people understand, to provide platforms for people to learn and understand that they can also contribute to environmental sustainability, which was what got me that far in the first place.
Well, this is very good. This is very interesting. Thank you for sharing this. Yeah, I'm so surprised, to be honest, because I've never really seen it as okay, like it was just meant to be a one-time thing. I've always thought you had like a well mapped that vision from the beginning before you started, and like everything was well structured. Okay, we're expanding to like all the old campuses in Nigeria, and then consider sub-Saharan Africa and all that. But hearing from it just stems from like a desire to just want to like just do make an impact in your immediate environment, and subsequently by virtue of the excitement of other people and their interest in it, you decided that okay, why not, let's just make this a movement. And to be honest, this has really gone all over Nigeria, because I see the impact it's doing. So a great job you're doing, Mr. Mayokun. But then, so we don't lose our audience, I would like us
Thank
to
you
like
very
now
much.
the understanding of what plugging really means, because some of them might just be hearing the term for the first time and they may not exactly connect with it. So can you explain to us what plugging is?
Okay, thank you. So plugging is spelled Plogging, Plogging. So plugging basically means jogging and picking litters, jogging and picking waste. That is the simple meaning of plugging. And it's a new English word. It's a relatively new English word with Swedish origin, because it was founded officially in 2016 in Sweden by a man. To other parts of the world, people have been taking, especially in the European countries, even in Asia, in the UK, in the US, everywhere. If you just go online and type plugin, you'd see different people in different places in the Americas, in the Asia, all continents. So, and in Africa, we are one of the pioneers. In Nigeria, of course, we are the pioneer organization that brought it to Nigeria. Then in Africa too, we are the leading plugin organization in Africa and in the world too. Yes, we are one of the most consistent plugin organizations. So that's the meaning of plugging. It means jogging and picking litters. So it serves two purposes simultaneously. When you're jogging, you're exercising your body, and beyond jogging, it involves all movements. When you're moving around, for example, the act of bending, squatting. Sometimes we even do more exercises. We do competition, we run, we walk. So all of those body movements plus picking litter. So when you're doing it, your body is benefiting. You're being physically very active. It helps your mental health. And when you're cleaning the environment, you are making it more conducive. You are increasing the aesthetic appeal of the environment. And also you are removing waste from the environment that would, ultimately, if not removed or if improperly disposed to the point of burning, would contribute to climate change. So you're taking care of your body, you're taking care of the environment. That is what plugging is about.
Wow, that is fantastic. That is very, very, very good, because you're just basically you're like achieving two purposes. One is that like you keeping fit physically, exercising your body, which to be honest, many Nigerians don't exactly put much attention to. They sometimes substitute stress for fitness, for exercises. But now you're able to like harmonize that with your ability to make the environment appealing and aesthetically beautiful. I think that's very good. That is very good. So I want to ask this. What is climate change, and how does it relate to plugging?
Okay, thank you for that. So as I mentioned earlier, why stating the benefits of plugging, that when we remove waste from the environment, it it helps to reduce contribution to climate change. Now, Plogging deals generally with waste management and physical fitness. Our mission in Plogging Nigeria is to promote a culture of responsible waste handling and physical fitness. So now the waste management part. Now in Nigeria, for example, maybe I should begin from the climate change part. So climate change deals with change, just the simple word, changing climate, changing climatic patterns. Now, climate is the weather condition of a place for like a period of 30, 35, 40 years. So that means that if we are defining it by a set time period, that climate is expected to change normally, or, little changes is expected to occur in the climate. But now, the radicality of the change of the climate, the swiftness at which it is changing, is a cause for concern, and that is why the term climate change particularly is a global challenge now. So now you see that, if you remember, now I mentioned that climate is the weather condition of a place for like 30 to 40 years. Mr. Akin, you and I, for example, I don't think we are 40 years old yet, except we are combining our ages. But we can say that since we've been young till now, the climate and weather patterns, the climate has changed. And now this is typical in that when we were younger, in primary and maybe early secondary school days, it was we were taught rainy season, wet season, and dry season. And back then we could distinctly fix that rainy season is from this month to this month, dry season is from this month to this month. But in reality now, it is no longer so.
It's no
we
longer.
cannot speak out because rain falls at different times. Sometimes it does not fall when you expect it. Sometimes it falls outside when you expect it. The sunshine, the dry season too, sometimes it just comes, everything has become haphazard. So this radical change in the weather patterns is what we refer to as climate change. And it's really causing a lot of distress because, for example, look at farmers that cultivate. Farmers work with time. They work with time and seasons. And now they don't know when to expect rain. They don't know when it's going to be dry. So when you plant at a time that you've been planting in the previous years, that when rain is coming, you are planting. But now the rain is not coming, or when you're expecting the dry season, it's not coming, it's still raining. So it affects agriculture, it affects food, that's a value chain. It affects feeding, hunger and all that. So back to climate change. Climate change is, this swift change in the weather patterns that we are experiencing now. And locally here and also globally, it's being felt. It has different impacts all around in different parts of the world. In some places, it is drought and desertification. In some places, it is loss of biodiversity. In some places, it's increased level of flooding. Like in Nigeria, we are experiencing increased level of flooding in some places, especially coastal communities. I happen to be from a coastal community. I have a story about that. It's, the increased level of sea level, increased level, it affects the community, sweeps and swallows the community. So these are impacts of climate change that we feel today. The sun shines like, the way the sun shines these days, it's like the sun wants to fry all of us. When it rains, it's extreme and all that. So these extremities in weather patterns that we have not been experiencing before, those are the things that are drivers of climate change. So now, the plugging connects to climate change. Now, waste in Nigeria, for example, according to a document that was released by the Federal Ministry of Environment, excuse me.
Bless you.
So I was saying, according to a document that was released by the Ministry of Environment recently, waste contributes like 9% to the Nigerian national emissions. And these emissions are the drivers of climate change, drivers of global warming that drive climate change. Now, when we say emissions, we mean gases that are released into the atmosphere. And these gases, the common ones are CO2, carbon and its oxides, and then there's CH4, there's sulfur oxide, there's nitrous. So they are generally called greenhouse gases. Now, let me quickly explain. Let me quickly paint a picture of how this climate change works. Now, there's an envelope of air around the planet. This is our planet Earth. that envelope of air up there, what it does is that it traps heat from the sun. Now, the sun has not been shining more recently, like we used to say that the sun, maybe some days we experience the heat more and we say the sun is shining crazily and all that. But the sun has still been shining, has still been shining as it has been shining in the past. But because we are more, but that's another topic. So this blanket of air around the planet, what it does is it traps heat from the sun to keep the planet warm. Without that envelope of air trapping the heat from the sun, we'll freeze to death. The planet will be too cold. So, and there's also a layer called ozone layer that prevents the heat of the sun, the rays from the sun, the ultraviolet rays of the sun from hitting us directly. Now, two things. Those gases, some of these greenhouse gases that we release, some of them affect this ozone layer and deplete different parts of the ozone layer. And that ozone layer, so the heat, the rays of the sun are able to hit us more directly or with more intensity than it's used to. So that's one. Then, but now that's the ozone layer, different from the envelope of gases that keeps the planet warm. Now, the work of the ozone layer is to reduce the intensity of the heat of the sun. Let's keep that in mind. Now, back to the envelope of air surrounding the planet that is trapping heat to keep the planet. So any form of those that release gases into the air. Now these gases go and join this envelope of air because the air too is made up of gases. So these gases are released from air. It goes to join that envelope of air and it increases the thickness of that envelope of air. Are you still with me?
Yes, I am. We lost you some like some seconds ago, and we didn't get that part clearly. So if you could repeat,
what was I saying?
You were talking about the ozone layer and the green gas, making a comparison. Yeah.
Okay, so I said the ozone layer prevents the rays of the sun from hitting us directly. When we release gases from the planet here, from our activities, transportation, urbanization, burning of fossil fuel extraction and all that, it releases gases that goes to join the envelope of air that keeps us warm. Now that envelope of air becomes thicker. The original work of the air surrounding us, of the envelope of air, is to trap heat from the sun to keep the planet warm, right?
Yeah.
Okay, so now when that layer of gases, when it becomes thicker, it traps more heat. It traps more heat than the planet ordinarily needs. So when it traps more heat, that is where the concept of global warming comes in. So, and it is this global warming that now drives climate change. It is this global warming that now drives changes and variabilities in rainfall, in precipitation, in pressure, in sun and in heat, and it just affects all the weather variabilities. So I hope I've been able to paint that picture. So when we now come back to the part of waste management, waste is part of the contributions, as part of the contributors to climate change, in that in many parts of the world, waste are still burnt, or also in the process of reprocessing or managing this waste in landfills or dump sites, there are emissions that are released into the air, and these emissions still go up, contribute to global warming and climate change. So our work now at Plogging Nigeria is to, as much as possible, promote more responsible behavior towards waste that will reduce the quantity of waste that we end up contributing to climate change. Say, for example, plastic waste. We want to collect more plastic waste, recover plastic or waste from the environment, such that less plastic will end up getting burnt, or less plastic will end up in production processes that would still release emissions and contribute to climate change. So we preach that people should reuse their waste, that people should repurpose their waste, should recycle their waste and all that. So the whole essence is to reduce the quantity of waste that gets to the environment, so that the emission profile from waste that will reduce, and the contribution to global warming and climate change will be reduced also. So I hope I've been able to establish that link.
Yes. Yes. This is fantastic. Thank you so much for this. I love the fact that, like, you also brought in the concept of global warming in addition to climate change and plugging, and you actually explained the relationship between those three things. Now, you talked about that it's more or less like an advice that people should actually consider recycling, their waste products, right? Like their plastic containers and all those things like that. What are the, let me say, traditional methods that people can adopt in order to recycle whatever they are using? For example, if they have plastic containers, having taken a soft drink, or having maybe bought, let's say, a butter or mayonnaise or whatever, and they're done, the content has been fully demolished, and they want to like dispose these things. How best can they do that, right? Considering that some of them may not have recycling machines. Do you
Okay.
understand my question?
Okay. Yeah, I understand your question perfectly. So now the first thing that we preach in environment, in managing waste, is not recycling. Recycling is not like the best option.
Okay.
Are you with me? Yes.
Yes, I am.
So there's something we call the 3 R's of waste management, although there are many more R's, but basically it's reduce, reuse, and recycle. Reduce, reuse, and recycle. So the first and most sustainable option is to reduce your consumption level so that you have less waste generated at the end of the day. Reduce your consumption. For example, you go and buy, you go to the market, or you are going to buy bread, or you go and buy anything, and you're asking them to double the nylon. Okay, if for the fact that, okay, maybe the item is very heavy and one nylon might not be enough, it's understandable. But there are some people, I've seen people that because they want to hide the content of what they are buying, they will say double the nylon and all that. And, now you are generating more waste. So the first and most sustainable option is to reduce your consumption level so that at the end of the day, you would have less waste generated. If you don't consume so much, you will not generate so much waste. So that's one. So in all possible ways, reduce your consumption of resources. You don't have to buy things you don't need. Again, for example, if you are going to buy something and you think, oh, what I'm going to buy is heavy, you can pick a nylon bag or a sack that you have, that you don't have to get a new nylon or ask them to double the nylon or something. I don't know if you get that, sir.
Yes, I do. Yes, I do, clearly.
Okay. So reducing our consumption of waste, and beyond just of items, beyond material items, reduce your consumption of water, reduce your consumption of energy, unplug your phones when it is full, unplug your chargers, don't leave them plugged in the wall. Just in all possible ways, reduce your consumption of, material resources and also immaterial resources. That's the most sustainable option. Then the next sustainable option is reusing. Now, just reusing this with repurposing items or finding other uses for items that you have used already. And there's a concept here that comes in called upcycling. Now, in my club, for example, we do a lot with plastic waste, these PET bottles. We do a lot with, we convert them into Christmas trees. We use them to build chairs. We use them to build, we are working on a project right now. We are using them to build sitting slabs. These kind of seats that are in many locations around campuses where students can just sit and relax and hang around. We are using them to build sitting slabs. With people use them to build houses.
Wow.
Yeah, and these houses are strong and they are durable, even stronger than the regular cement block houses. In many other places, they reprocess them into plastic bricks that they use to make detachable housing. So reusing deals with finding other uses for items that you are done with, that you have consumed the content. So instead of disposing, you are now reusing the items. So you could use, for example, your plastic, the basic one that is very common that we do in Nigeria. When you cut your plastic bottle and use it as funnel, that is reusing. It's as simple as that. So you don't have to think, when we say reuse and when we mention these things, you don't have to think of something very big or that will be very technical or that will require a lot of innovation or something. The simple ways you can find ways to reuse these items, it also contributes, it also helps. So reusing, then that's another one. A little more about upcycling. Upcycling is also, it's a case of reusing where you convert items, You use them to make many things. You can do a lot with plastic. You can make trees, you can make decorations, wall decorations, you can make chairs, you can make boats. People have made plastic boats that they ride on water. So there's a lot out there. You could just, anybody listening to us or that will listen to this, you could just do a little check on upcycling. And then the last R in that sequence is now recycling. Now, recycling should come in when you have practiced reduction, you have practiced reusing. And at the end of the day, you still have this waste that is still left. Okay, so now let me recycle it. Now, the process of recycling involves taking these items to firms that will now break down the plastic and use them to make other items newly. Now, recycling is also good, but it should not be your first call. The first call is reduction, the second call is reusing, and the third is recycling. So in many cases in Nigeria, for example, we don't have recycling firms around us. Outside Lagos, Abuja, and some other states, most states do not have recycling firms or institutions around them. So that's still a problem we have in Nigeria. So for people, if you stay in Lagos, that should not be a problem for you. You can always, gather your recyclables, plastic waste, aluminum waste, metallic waste, and all that. Gather them. After a period of time, a recycling firm can come and pick it up, or you take it to them, and you even get points. You even get rewards. They pay you. They give you gift items for bringing your recyclables. But in locations where we don't have them yet, so we would still encourage that you do more of reducing your consumption and also reusing your waste. And as much as possible, don't go for items you don't need, or simple tips when you are going to the market, hold your waste bag, get a water bottle that you can always refill instead of buying table water and sachet water. Always, if you have clean water source, get a table water you can always refill. And so those simple tips explains the sequence of the hours of waste management. So to the main question you asked was, how do people go about recycling? Of course, if you have a recycling firm around you, you can always gather your recyclables. You go to them, you understand, you ask them for their, if they have incentives that they give, you ask them for their incentive system, you benefit from it. And if they don't have, you should have the satisfaction of knowing that you not disposing these items and donating them or giving them to these firms and these recycling institutions, you are helping to protect and contribute to the safety of the environment.
Okay, this is very informative. Thank you so much for sharing this. I really learned a lot, to be honest with you. And maybe two more questions and we are done, right? So the next question is, now you talked about the fact that when people participate in plugging, or when you guys go out for plugging, that you pick up trash and everything on the street or around your environment. My question then is, how do you manage this trash? Like, how do you dispose them? What do you do with them?
Okay, yeah, thank you for that. So how we manage our trash is it's quite straightforward. And remember, I mentioned we have clubs in about 22 locations around Nigeria now. So each of these locations have their peculiarities. And I have also mentioned that in many places that are not in Nigeria, we don't have these recycling firms close to people. So in clubs, in the areas where we have recycling firms close to our clubs, of course, we take our recyclables to them, to some of them sometimes. So we gather them, we store them for a while. When it's voluminous enough, we have an agreement with them, they pick it up. And sometimes we get incentives, sometimes we do not. But we give them to, we have a relationship with recycling firms in locations where we have these firms operating and functional. In locations where we do not have recycling firms, in some of them we do upcycling. I mentioned upcycling earlier too. We collect some of the waste, the ones that we can use, and we use them to make new items. We have done a lot of Christmas trees. We have done a lot of table baskets. We have done wall decorations, car decorations, chairs, and all that. We have done that with plastic. So we collect them and reuse them as much as possible. And for the other waste that we do not have ways to manage them, recycling them or repurposing them for any purpose, some will give them to scavengers. Scavengers are people that collect these recyclables, but they still take it to recycling firms. But for the ones that we don't have any choice about, we dispose them because we don't have the capacity yet to institute recycling firms ourselves, and it will be unwise to now, for example, maybe from Ondo State we collect recyclables and we save them up so much, and we now want to transport them to Lagos State. It will require a lot of expenses, and even in the process, we'll be burning carbon from transport emission from the vehicle that will come and pick it or that will take it. Of course, there are times when we are considering doing that actually, but we are looking for the best possible. We are trying to push recycling firms that have the capacity to come and establish in locations that are averagely close to us so that we don't have to travel long distances to transport these recyclables. So for some of the locations, we still dispose them. We take them to the proper waste disposal points. Now, it's quite simple, really. A place is littered and a place is neat. The difference between them, one is a sane environment, one it's not a sane environment. So the fact that we help to clean the environment in that moment, we help to remove all the nuisance waste has caused, and we dispose them to the right disposal point. Yes, that also counts. So some of the ways we recycle them, some we upcycle them, some we just take them off the streets and dispose them in appropriate and designated disposal points.
Okay, thank you very much, sir. Thank you very much. One final question. If anyone is willing to participate in Plogging Nigeria activities and they are interested in joining the club, where can they find information about each of their localities or each of their states, so that they can participate? And if they are also willing to learn more about the environment, climate change, plugging activities, where can they go? And do you have any trainings or anything for them? Do you understand what I'm saying, sir?
Yes. Thank you for that. So yes, the first point of call, if you want to learn about the environment, Google is everybody's friend. So beyond what I can see, beyond what I can teach you, beyond what my organization can teach anyone, Google will always provide you with enough info. You see a lot of courses, a lot of topics as regards the environment, a lot of info. You get tired, you'll be consumed, you'll be drowned in them. That will help you to get this consciousness of the dire situation the environment is in and why we need you to be part of the environmental actors, the climate actors to save the environment. So, but taking it back home, yes, if you want to learn more about Plogging Nigeria, you want to join us, you want to see if we are in your locality, you can always check our website, www.pluggingnigeria.org. That's .org. Our details are there. You can reach out to us. If we don't have a plugging club in your community or in your campus yet, yes, you can send us a message. We would work together. Would be happy to work with you to have a club, establish a club close to you. You can check us out on Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, LinkedIn. Our handle is at Plogging Nigeria. We post updates about our activities. You see all the different kinds of activities we have. We organize our online training, our online advocacy and education. And also we have a training, a very regimented training where we teach people about the environment. It's a 7-day training. It's called the Green Switch Academy. And we are going to begin the 13th cohort of the academy tomorrow officially. In the past, we have trained, we have had over 3,500 people from all around the world apply for the training. And we have successfully taught 701 persons who have graduated from the academy. So wow. The details are on our website too. You can always join us for subsequent versions of the academy, and it will be mind-blowing, and you learn so much about the environment in 7 days, and we'll charge you up to become an environmental actor like we are. So yeah, that's pretty much it. You can Google Plogging Nigeria. Just Google Plogging Nigeria, so you get our details, our social media handles, our website, everything about us. You see them online.
Wow. Thank you so very much, Mr. Mayokun. Thank you. This was a very, very educative and informative session. I learned a lot as a person, and to be honest, you've stirred up a passion for environment, in me. Right, and I think that's why information is power. You never can tell what it can do. And I believe many of the people who would be accessing this podcast henceforth, they will learn a lot. And I really want to say a big thank you for granting us, a piece of your time. Thank you for sharing so passionately this information. Even out of your very busy schedule, I'm very grateful. And I believe a lot of people will follow up with Plogging Nigeria. I would do my best to actually take up this challenge and join up with teenagers around my environment and see where we can go with Plogging too. So thank you very much, Mr. Mayokun.
Yeah, I'm very happy to hear that. Thank you very much for having me. And again, wonderful work you're doing with the podcast. Kudos and well done, sir.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, so very much. So this is where we draw the curtain. See you next week, guys. Take care. Bye.
That was a great session. Thank you for listening. If this has impacted you in any way, I'm asking you to do a couple of things. The first thing is that you subscribe. Subscribe to this podcast so you can receive notifications when new episodes come up every weekend. Gather your friends, your family, and be a part of this ministry. You can subscribe on Google Podcasts, Anchor, Podbean, Radio Public, Pocket Casts, Spotify, Breaker, and any other platform. The second thing I will ask you to do is to share. Share this with your friends, with your parents, your teachers, students, and people around you who may find this helpful. This just might be the answer to their prayers. The third thing is that you leave your comments in the comment section, as this provides us with feedbacks on how helpful this program has been to you. If you have any questions, topics you would like us to address, or guests you would like us to bring, please send an email to allthingstayinpodcast@gmail.com, and we will be sure to get back to you. I want you to know that we love you and the best days are ahead of you. See you next week.